Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming back to Living To Do's review of Bel-Air, the new Peacock series about it's the reboot of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and we're going to review episode 2. The first 3 episodes are out on Peacock now. So episode number 2 is called Keep Your Head Up. And before we get started, I would please ask that if you could like, subscribe, and share this video. And also find me on Fanbase. I'm also on Fanbase, the new app that is out by the same name. So let's get started on this review, episode 2. Episode 2, it leads off where after the fight that Will and Carlton had at a party at Connor's house. They got in a fight, but now it's gone viral because everybody had their phones out, and Aunt Viv sees this. She's in the house with the boys, and Will and them are trying to argue their point that Carlton started it, and Carlton's nursing a black eye that Will gave him, and in talking about it and discussing it, Carlton says that Will was with Lisa. I guess the name Lisa rings a bell with Aunt Viv, but she doesn't say anything. We know that that's Carlton's ex-girlfriend, so that must have been a sore spot for him and why he might have reacted the way he did. But she tells them that, she breaks it up and tells them they're going to have to get along, basically. She talks to her husband about it, and it's gone viral, which is going to hurt his campaign. He's running for district attorney. They want to go talk to Will about this because they can't have this. This is, they want to help him, but they can't have this. They go in to talk to Will, and Will is looking out the window crying. They're concerned, of course, immediately, and they find out that Will's friend Trey was shot, and Aunt Viv hugs him closely, tightly, because she realizes, and they both realize, that could have easily been Will. And they were considering, maybe having him move back because he's causing problems, but he's facing bigger problems at home, life and death problems. They calm him down, but it's really sad because you realize these are real threats that these kids are going through, real life and death threats that they're facing out on these streets. Well, Will calms down. The next day, they're going for their his first day of school, and he's supposed to go with his cousin Carlton because they go to the same school. But Carlton has an attitude because they did get in a fight. He ends up driving to school in a new Lexus. Forget Uber. He has a new car. He drives himself to school. He has a good attitude. He's always smiling, and you could just see that he's a good-natured guy. But, you're in LA, and people are not that welcoming in LA. He goes to a room where he's supposed to be his classroom. Nobody's there. So he leaves the classroom looking around. The hallways are all empty. Security stops him. Well, they do stop him. They ask him where he's going in the halls of the school. And because the security, I think it triggers him. It sets him off. He starts remembering the cops, being chased by the cops in Philly. He starts running. He takes off. He's running. He finds himself in a room where a bunch of kids are sitting in, looks like a library or somewhere, but there's a little stage, and on the stage is Carlton. He's talking to the student body. And since he's up on stage, Carlton waves away Jerry, the security guard, and he introduces everybody to his new cousin, or his cousin new to the school, Will. And he's embarrassing him, asking him about his old school, if they had AP classes, if they took exchange students, just showing how where he came from, and it was less than where he is now. That his school, Carlton says his school has a wellness center for kids and all this and that. And it was just embarrassing, Will. And, he's condescending. He's acting like he's being welcoming, but he's really just downgrading everything about Will just to embarrass him and to get him back, because he was embarrassed by losing his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, to Will. Next thing we see, Uncle Phil. Uncle Phil is having a big meeting, a radio interview with the local big time radio host, Big Boy. And Big Boy's interviewing him about being the DA, because he's running for DA. And, they're happy that he's running, but they also, I think there's a sense that he's more of a, he's just using them. He's not really for the people, because, he's rich. He's being, has nicknames of being billionaire banks, though he's not a millionaire, but a billionaire, but he has a lot of money. And Big Boy points this out. The callers on the radio station call in, and all they want to do is talk about how much money he has, not talk about the issues. And everybody thinks, well, Big Boy, you just get a sense that he's thinking that he's not really here for helping the people, but for his own, he's just being selfish in some way, and it probably has to do with money or clout, and it's not really about the people. So that interview was kind of a bust. We also see Hillary in the next scene. She has an interview with some type of cooking company or website or magazine or something that her mother has hooked her up with, because they want her to succeed, financially anyway. And she's very excited about the meeting. She cooks for them. They seem to like her food, but they need to negotiate. They're negotiating more or less her attire and also her food. It's tasty, but it's too seasoned. From what we gather, they don't like it. The spices, even though that is what she was big on, she makes her own spices and signature spice, and her family loves it. It's always a hit, but they don't like it. They're basically saying that their audience, their target audience, would not appreciate spicy food. Well, that leaves a bad taste in Hillary's mouth. The next scene we show Will. He wants to try out for the basketball team. But there's a problem, because the basketball coach he's not about all that riffraff and fighting, and he doesn't care what a big star you are. He has to try out for the team if he's going to make it, if he's going to play at all. He's just not going to come here because he of his highlight reel or who was scouting him in the past. So Will has to practice his basketball. First, he calls on Jazz, and he starts playing with him, and he actually tells Jazz what his circumstances were back at home, that he really came here because he was kind of fleeing, running from somebody. Jazz pretty much is his only real, well, his first friend anyway, and his first black friend in Bel-Air. But as he's trying to play, he's recalling the time that he was arrested. He has PTSD, and his basketball playing is not sharp at all. And it's because he's stemming from always thinking about what happened when he starts to play. And he's so concerned about the tryouts because his head's not on straight. Also, there is a call. Next scene, we see Aunt Viv talk to her sister, Will's mom. She's a nurse, and she heard about the fight, and she's basically saying, I didn't send my child out there to, be fighting. And Viv says, well, your child pretty much won. I just sense there's some tension between those two, which is going to be interesting to see what their backstory is. Your two sisters, you have kids, and they haven't really seen each other for years. You lived on opposite ends of the coast. It might have something to do with Will's dad and her husband. So that's going to be coming up shortly. We have the next scene. We see Jeffrey, the house manager, talk to Uncle Phil, talk about Will and his problems. And I noticed that Jeffrey, who's supposed to be the butler in the original series and the house manager in this series, is real relaxed around Uncle Phil. Actually, Uncle Phil's making a drink and handing it to Jeffrey. They discuss Will and his issues, and Jeffrey, who's from Jamaica and lived in the UK, is understanding Will. He seems to be understanding Will. Will is in a new place. He sees that Will is a good guy. He is trying. He has noticed that. He's advising Uncle Phil to meet Will where he's at. So in the next scene, we have Uncle Phil at the basketball courts at his home, meeting or walking up to Will, who's practicing for his tryouts. And Uncle Phil gives him a good talking to, another life lessons about holding his head up. And once again, that's something that Will really desperately needs, a solid father figure in his life. And they talk about the arrest and what it was like for him, and Uncle Phil has never been arrested. And Uncle Phil was there for support and just being a good father figure. But Carlton looks on. We see Carlton looking on at them talking on the basketball courts. And of course, Carlton is the only son of Uncle Phil, and this guy, 16-year-old basketball star, is coming around and living with them. And of course, I'm sure that doesn't make Carlton feel good. Though he doesn't say anything or do anything. It's just, we know it's planting a seed in his head, I think, of jealousy, for one, but I'm sure that storyline is going to unfold too. At school, we see Will talking to a new classmate, or a new classmate to him, Tyler. Tyler is on the basketball team, and Will asked for tips for playing basketball. And he said, told him no showboating. The coach is not about that. He's just about hard work. Okay, so the next thing we see, Hillary. She's with her mom talking about turning down the offer that this cuisine play offered her. They didn't like her recipes. They liked them. They just wanted her to tone down the spices, which was her signature thing. And they were saying that's not her target audience. But after which, Hillary takes to social media to badmouth these people, basically saying that black people are not their target audience. And I guess she wants her 75,000 subscribers to say something about it. So, she's kind of just outing them a little bit about being biased, and she's using her followers to do that. So then one of the next scene, we see Will at basketball tryouts, which at first he's not doing well, missing shots, He's in his head again, thinking about, what happened in Philly. Tyler tells him real quick, you got this. They start making plays and really showing off his skill. And then eventually the coach stops practice and he offers Will a spot on the team right then and there. He is going to be on the Bel-Air Academy basketball team. So he's in the gym icing himself down, where he sees Carlton also icing himself down. Carlton's shocked that he's even in there because it's only for athletes, and as far as he knows, Will's not an athlete. He learns that Will made the basketball team. He's surprised because after that fight, they can't believe that they would offer him. He can't believe that they would offer him a spot on the team due to his bad behavior fighting. Carlton gets out of the ice water and he leaves. After which, Will is walking through the campus and Connor stops him because Connor wants to make sure he knows that that he has a restraining order against him and he has to stay away from him so many feet. Will walks away from him and he walks into Carlton, and Carlton's pissed because he's embarrassed that Lisa, Carlton's ex-girlfriend, was flapping her mouth talking about how they got in a fight because of his jealousy, seeing Will with Lisa. Carlton's heard about that, but that's not really Will's fault because Will didn't do that. But Carlton, when you don't like somebody, you don't like them. It could be for something they didn't even do. And that's kind of what's going on here. Every little thing that happens between them is blown up because they're just irritated. Especially Carlton is just irritated having Will around. Will is walking through campus and he gets stopped by security. Security wants to look in his backpack because they believe he has drugs. And Will's like, I don't have any drugs. Basically, standing up for himself. He lets the security guard look into his backpack where they find the drugs. And they walk him out, I guess, into the office. Carlton's standing with Connor, and Connor tells him, I told you I'd take care of it. Letting us know that he planted those drugs in Will's backpack. And that was the end of the episode. Okay, I think this story can unfold a lot more. I've loved episode 1 the best so far, but okay, episode 2, there's a lot to watch and see what they're going to do with it. So I'm going to hang in there. Hopefully you will too. I will be back shortly with episode 3, which is also out. For now, if you would please like, subscribe, and share this video, I would very, very much appreciate it, and thank you in advance. And also, again, I'm on Fanbase, so if you're on Fanbase, you can look me up there, and please subscribe to me there. I am there under the same name, Living to Do. And with that, I gotta go. Gotta watch episode 3, and I got Living to Do. Thank you.